It is. It is October 1st, and we're going to finish up a two-part series on how to finish the fourth quarter strong. But as we roll into it, I want to let you know at the end of this one this week, I'll send you kind of a fourth quarter game plan kind of checklist that's coming out of this video. And just a reminder, it's the first part of this two-part video talked about working 11 and a half months instead of 7 months like most realtors do. And the workload, some of the words that came out of the first one, the workload is you're being physically, you're being mentally, and you're emotionally involved in your work. In fact, I was like many of you, I was up early. I just didn't go back to sleep, but I was up at about 4:30, and uh, your mind's real clear when you get up that early or in the middle of the night for some of you. But I laid there today before I got up and moved, and I thought, why is my brain always working around this business so much? Well, it's because it's all consuming until you get your systems in place or you get your mindset checked in the morning. But once you get your game plan going and you're physically, mentally, emotionally involved, then you can kind of step away from the daily grind and just know I have to do these activities, and these activities produce these results. And when you're emotionally, physically, and mentally sound and in a good spot, the activities you do are more purposeful and meaningful. So I want to continue that. I will tell you a couple things about the fourth quarter in central Indiana anyway. I don't know how it is where seasonality may not play such a big role because it's beautiful all year round or whatever, but everywhere has fall break now. Everywhere has Thanksgiving usually, and they have a holiday package at the end of December or the parts of December. So everywhere has a marketplace that has some distractions. Because of the distractions in central Indiana, we're going to do almost 20% of the year's business will be done in the fourth quarter. And you would think, well, why isn't it 25%? Well, it's because of the seasonality, right? But if we're doing almost 20% of the business going in the fourth quarter, it's actually a lot more opportunity because you have half of the agents working in the fourth quarter. Does that make sense? And in fact, the Eric Pittners of the world could argue you have less than half of the agents working in the fourth quarter because when these busy agents are out working, they're not running into people like they were in the spring. So don't let the slowdown of the seasonality get in the way of the opportunity that the fourth quarter has. And that's the idea of taking these actions to ensure there's 20 actions to ensure a great fourth quarter. So let's get into this video, and then I want us to share a little bit, if we can, in a second, how we're going to handle the fourth quarter. We got some good stuff going last week with some sharing. So hold on 2 seconds. Okay, this is a close-up of Mike Ferry, so I apologize. Let me make sure my sound's up. I think I'm getting pretty good at this, getting zoomed down. All right, here we go. This is this part 2 of fourth quarter.
TV is Mike Ferry. You know, last week we started with a report. How do I ensure that I have a great fourth quarter? And we talked throughout last week's message to you on points 1 through 10 on how to have a great fourth quarter. Today, we're going to look at the second half of the report that all my coaching clients got back in late August because we want to ensure that they have a great fourth quarter. I want to start by throwing a little mantra out to you, which we all know. We've heard it 1,000 times, maybe 10,000 times, and we want to look at it, and I'm going to dispel it as maybe a crazy mantra for a minute, and then we're going to look at how do we make this new mantra I'm going to suggest work for you. And the mantra we've heard for years is this: listings are the name of the game. Listings are the name of the game. And you know what? You can't debate it. Listings are the name of the game. The people that control the listings control the inventory. Those that control the inventory control the marketplace. When you control the marketplace, as you've heard me say, you become the employer in your market, and all the people showing property are the employees. Well, there's a certain fallacy to that particular mantra. Listings are the name of the game, because what I've been teaching people during my East Coast tour prior to the retreat coming up in Miami area, actually in Fort Lauderdale to be specific, and or during the tour I did on the West Coast in May and June was the following. Appointments really are the name of the game. Appointments. Because, see, we can't get listings until we go on appointments. So one of the games that I've been playing over the last few weeks with a lot of the great brokerage firms I work with here on the East Coast is the following. I'll ask all the agents to say, would you agree that you have to go on appointments all the time if you expect to get a lot of listings? Now, you know what they all say, absolutely. And then I ask them this question. Okay, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, honestly, how many listing appointments have you gone on so far this year? Tell the truth. Write down the number, cover it up so nobody can see. And you can see a lot of them going like this, and they're thinking, and they're questioning, how many have I gone on? It's September. And then I see them writing. And then I say, how many have you gone on? 2. 2? You've gone for 9 or 10 months and gone on 2 appointments? But I will tell you, 50% of every audience I speak to have not gone on a listing appointment this year so far. Well, I think we all say if listings are the name of the game, wouldn't you agree that going on appointments is absolutely critical? The ability, the skill to develop a routine to get appointments is what makes great agents great. You can't get appointments, you can't get listings. End of conversation. So points 11 through 20 on how to ensure a great fourth quarter talk more about this concept. Hopefully will help you, because here we are now. We're starting this fourth quarter. We're going to go fast. We're going to be effective. We're going to be excited. We're going to be productive. We're going to make it the best fourth quarter of our life. So here's point number 11. During the fourth quarter, you'll hear more of the following. We don't want to do anything during the holiday season. Therefore, you have to become more aggressive than ever in all lead follow-up that you do, because lead follow-up becomes critical. You should be spending 1 solid hour per day doing lead follow-up. And at the same time, when talking to a prospect, be sure to pre-qualify them to the absolute complete last second, because what you can't do is go on appointments where they don't have a lot of motivation. Now, yes, motivation is the name of the game. Last week, we gave you a point. Price, motivation are the key to success in listing property. But guys and gals, remember, if they don't have motivation, you don't want to be sitting in front of them. If they don't have motivation, you don't want to be on an appointment. So how do we find out their motivation? We do a lot of lead follow-up, a lot of pre-qualifying, which brings us right to point number 12. To simplify your lead follow-up, there's 2 questions, okay, that you have to ask. A, how important is it for you to get your home sold now or in the very near future? How important? Well, we got to get it sold right now. We want to be back in Cleveland, Ohio, no later than November 20th. Good, we got to price it then to get it sold. And then question B, what price do you feel you need to have to get your home sold in this market? These are 2 questions we have to ask. These are pre-qualifying questions. They're part of the process. Now I know some of you are going to say, I don't feel comfortable asking those kinds of questions. Wait a minute, you're a salesperson. You're a professional salesperson. Your job is to go out and inspire, to ask questions, seek information, give advice, get contracts signed. How can you do that if you don't ask questions? Number 13, knowing that in real estate today, we're either buying business, buying leads, branding and marketing, etc., or we're waiting for business to find us, open houses, sitting in the office, geographic farming, etc., or we're going to go out and find business and earn it the old-fashioned way by working. Again, since the number of agents playing the game is reduced dramatically now, this time of year, the more time you spend going out to find business, the more contacts, the more leads, the more appointments, and the more contracts you get signed. I don't know what your methodology is for getting listings. At the July Superstar Retreat, we actually went through 42 different prospecting techniques. 42 that are all designed to get you a listing. In October, coming right up around the corner at our Superstar Retreat in Fort Lauderdale, we're going to give you 42 methods of getting a listing. Guys and gals, if you're sitting around the office, see, in my seminars that I've been doing on the tour in South Florida, I've been saying one of the methods of prospecting that agents use today is called sitting and waiting. I walk into an office. What are you doing? I'm sitting. And what are you doing here sitting? I'm waiting. And you're waiting for what? Well, I'm sitting and waiting for somebody to call me and say, come and list my home. Yes, it could happen. Does it happen often? Can you make a living doing that? Can you take 2 listings a month sitting and waiting? Of course you can't. Okay? Now, watch point 14. When you have a specific goal to increase your efficiency and production in the fourth quarter, you have to understand that you're going to have an immediate and positive impact on the first quarter of 2015. October, November, December, you're going to be putting in energy and time that you haven't done maybe so far this year. And at the same time, we know in October, which we'll talk about later, you'll be writing your business plan for 2015. In essence, aren't you creating a 15-month business plan? How can you beat that deal? A 15-month business plan. Now watch. You're going to have more inventory. You're going to have more pendings and more closings in January and February because the work you did in September, October, November, and December. So guess what? This is when, point 14, you spend 30 to 40 minutes a day committing to practicing, perfecting your listing presentation skills, your prospecting skills, so you finish the year strong and start the new year as one of the best agents in your town. From point 15, from October 1st through October 31st, at the end of this month I should say, create a schedule that is so strong and so tight that you can't do anything but list and sell real estate. Can you imagine? Now watch, there's no holidays in October. Holidays are in November and December. You got a full month to give it your best shot. Oh, I know some of the agents in town say, wait a minute, we got Halloween. And of course my joke is that's when some agents get their monthly meal. They're out trick-or-treating. That's not you. You got 30 days to perform. Create a schedule that's so tight that every minute of the day is accounted for and everything is aimed at getting appointments, going on listings, making sales. Because if the schedule's that tight, you're going to find people every week. Here's the thought. Maybe you should find 2 or 3 people who think like you do and have them hold you accountable, you hold them accountable in October, November, December to the goals you've set. Point number 16, there's a decrease in the number of transactions the fourth quarter. We know that. But then the question of what is fair market value becomes even more important. I strongly suggest that on all the listings you have in the fourth quarter and with any offers coming in, you explain to your sellers how fair market value is actually determined. Fair market value is determined when a seller and a buyer meet and complete terms that are good for both parties. That's fair market value. It's a seller and buyer coming together and they're looking at each other saying, I can live with this if you can live with that. And if you do that, guess what? You win all the time. Point 17, starting today, it is absolutely critical to evaluate your market every several days. Monitor and track the market. What's selling? What's not? What areas are hot? What areas are not? What areas should you stay away from? Work the markets that have the most activity. Because remember, if 25 to 30% less agents are working, and there's a hot market over here, and you work it, guess what? Your chances for succeeding go up every time. Point 19 that I really need to focus on with you today. There's 3 questions, and you know this, that every seller wants answered when you walk in that front door. Question 1, how much is my house worth? You got to be prepared to answer that question. If you can't answer that question, stay in your car. Get out of here because you're not qualified to list the home. Question 2, how long will it take to sell? How do you know the answer? By studying the market conditions as we talked about in the previous 2 points. If you study the market conditions, you study the inventory, and you're really kept aware of what's going on, you know it could take 30, 60, 90 days. And if it's priced right, it could take less time than that. And obviously question number 3, what are you going to do to get it sold? Remember last week, I don't know if it was point 3 or 4, we talked about the fact that you had to really look at the service that you offer. What are you going to do to get my home sold? Well, I'm really going to work hard. You know, I'm really enthusiastic. That isn't the answer. They need to know specifically what you're going to do. Okay, now here's what I want you to think about next. On point 19, throughout the course of the year, there are certain relationships, listen carefully, there are certain relationships that you've developed as a productive agent. And these relationships have kept you productive throughout the course of the year. These are the affiliates that you work with. The title, the mortgage, the home services, the appraisers. These are people that are vital to the transaction. Point 19, to have a great fourth quarter, say thank you for what they've done for you so far this year. Well, Mike, they should be thanking me. I gave them business. Yeah, but they kept you in the business by doing a great job. And the last point on my list, develop for yourself a very specific, straightforward, fourth quarter plan system for learning. You know, I've been talking about a plan system for learning with our clients. I don't know, excuse me, 40 years probably, 40 years, where you write out a plan. Here's the 4 or 5 things I'm going to do to keep myself growing, keep myself excited, keep myself energized, keep myself enthused, keep myself moving forward. I'll give you an example. Go to at least one Mike Ferry seminar in the fourth quarter. Watch, read at least 2 good books in the fourth quarter. Spend time listening to great inspirational speakers, whether it be watching a DVD or listening on CD. See, you got to have a plan for improving the quality of what you do. Now, I know that in looking at last week and this week, and I look at this title, how do I ensure my fourth quarter success? I know there's a lot here, but I also know there's a lot to you and who you are. There's a lot you can accomplish. There's a lot you can do. The only thing stopping you from having a great fourth quarter, it's not the market, not your broker, it's not Mike Ferry, it's you. So let's remove the barrier of ourselves. Let's really study this material. Watch this message every day for a week, then go to work and have the greatest fourth quarter you've ever experienced. I can't wait to talk to you next week about the next phase of what we have to do. See you next week.
Okay, so he said the number 19 twice if you were taking notes. So just if that threw you off a little bit. But I think this is beautiful that I'm going to share this real quick too. I have this kind of printed out ready. I'll send this in an email just so you can see that it'll be ready for you. And I'll probably put links of the video if you care to revisit it. But here's what I wanted to revisit a little bit from last week in case you can tie the two together. And the number one action that he wrote down last week was, don't allow yourself to operate out of desperation by overpricing or cutting commission. Be confident. The fourth quarter, and if you're a pusher driver and you're right on your goals for the year, like at month 9, you're right on your goals, or maybe you're just behind your yearly goal. Don't manipulate your standards of practice to hit your goal. Does that make sense? Don't take an overpriced listing because I wanted to list 50 listings this year and I'm at 48. Or I have to get to 35 closings and I'm at 30. So if I cut my commission, it'll make the inspection work, right? Your standards should always be in place, and be confident. The other thing that I wanted to revisit was what he revisited in this video too, which was always provide a high level of service. And tomorrow will be our 4th, and at this point, kind of the wrapping up Gina and I's listing roadshow that we labeled Navigating the Market. It's kind of what to do when my listing doesn't sell type class, really, and then how do I re-jive it? And it comes down to an action plan. It comes down to actions and being prepared to answer questions. What he talked about, what is my home worth? We talk about pricing. How long will it take to sell? And what are you going to do to sell it? So I think next week I'm going to do a recap, and I think I'm going to get Gina to join. I don't know if she's in town next week or not, but Gina at some point will do a recap and take all 4 sessions and all the verbiage that came out of the sessions. Like Matt Corey said a couple things down in Bedford on Monday. Doug Hamill came up to us off the first one in Brownsburg last week. I think Jason Pearson had a good idea, believe it or not, after the second one we did on the north side. So if you were in that one, you didn't hear what they said. And so I want to recap all of it with all the good ideas that came together, and maybe use a mastermind to do that. So, but he did say point number 15, as Mike Ferry did, and this is an old video, by the way. He said, perfect your listing presentation. Create a tight schedule focused only on listing and selling. Skip October holidays and get accountability. Well, it's hard to do with fall break and stuff. It is the time of year you can be extremely productive, but perfecting your listing process, not just your presentation. See, the 4 steps to get you the listing, and then in the middle of the presentation, you have to be able to bridge the gap from I got the listing to what's the process to sell the property. And I think we're accomplishing that pretty good over time. But another one that stood out for me, and then I kind of want your feedback, is increasing communication came from the first part of the video. And this is the easiest time of year. And I think it was Michelle McKnight last week who said that's what she does. She increases she has all the reasons to reach out to her database in the fourth quarter. So again, we're going to do almost 20% of the business in the fourth quarter in central and southern Indiana. And there's already half the agents in MyBor haven't sold anything, right? So your competition is half the business, half the people in MyBor, and then in the fourth quarter, cut that in half. And to his ending message is the competition is strictly between your ears, and get some activities going. I think that if Jeanette Hamill could speak up, or Danny's new, they would talk a little bit about open houses. The fourth quarter open houses can be absolutely brilliant. They can be really good because you're going to be more rememberable. So, all right, if I can be quiet for 30 seconds, what else did you get out of this that I'm not talking about? If you remember last week's or this week, Judy Kohler's really, she's super good in the business. Judy, were you paying attention, or were you waiting for your refrigerator to be delivered like Gina? Did you get something out of this?
I did get something out of it, and it's just that I need to refocus on listings only. You can really control your time a lot better if you just do listings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so simple though. It sounds so easy, and it probably is. So how do you think you're going to do that?
How am I going to do that? Yeah. Actually, Tom Ferris and I in my office have challenged each other to focus on expireds, because there's a lot of them out there now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and if you get good at presenting our action plan that's powered by the home marketing system, those are fun, because you can say things that they've never heard before, like boost, open houses, shared listings. I mean, there's just the TV show. There's so much that we can provide. It
definitely
proves value. Okay, what else? Who else is going to get something out of this? Did you get anything, Eric?
Well, I mean, I think that if the trend continues, which we don't see any reason why it won't, as days on market continue to climb, for me, the only way that I can ensure consistent income so that I'm not porpoising and having too long a dry spell between closings is to carry more inventory. If it takes longer to sell, then you're going to need to carry more of it so that you can, because it's going to take longer to replace it if it does pend. So you can't just have one and then pend it, and then you got to have more than that, because I mean, obviously if it's going to take 30 or 40 days for it to pend when it goes active, then I've got to have ideally I'd like to have 5 or 6 actives at a time. So
right. So in the little town I moved to about 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, in Jamestown, Indiana, the little town, they have a Dollar General now, which is nice. They have one gas station, which has been there off of Highway 136, and it's old, but they had an IGA grocery store. And when we moved there, the IGA was open. And as I would go, this is amazing. I go in there, they didn't have anything I wanted. Like they would have 2 loaves of bread, right? And or they'd have toaster pastries, not Pop-Tarts. I have a high quality of food intake. I need Pop-Tarts, not toaster pastries. They'd have 4 or 5 varieties of bread, of chips. They'd have whatever. They'd have one can of chili beans. Well, you can't make chili for 6, 7 people with 1 can of chili beans. Well, it's to Eric's point. They didn't have any listings on the shelf, and so the can of beans never sold. But if they had 10 cans of beans, they would have sold some beans, right? And eventually they just go out of business. They just cannot handle it not having an inventory. So it is very much, what do you have on the shelf? Because you can build your skill set around just a listing workshop. Some people's skill was built around what is the adjustment we make when the inventory isn't selling, to Eric's point. So, Mr. Downing, can I pick on you for a minute? Did you get anything out of this? You're highly coached. You've been coached for years. You're almost coachable. And so, what did you get out of this? Anything?
Like you said, I've heard a lot of this before, but I think the thing to remember, I think a lot of this, for me anyway, is like being able to ask those questions. What price do you think we should list at to sell your home? And going in there with confidence about knowing, how much it's going to sell for, how long it's going to take. And it's about being in control of the conversation. And I get sidetracked really easily. You go into a listing and you start walking through the house, and then they start telling you about whatever. And sometimes I'm just like a fish with a bait. I just take the bait and I just go off down a rabbit trail. And at some point, you've got to get the conversation back on. You're in control of conversation. And if you're in control of conversation, a lot of times you're in and out in 20 minutes with a signed contract. Otherwise, if I don't control the conversation, I'm there for an hour and a half. In 20 minutes of it is the conversation we should have had to begin with.
Yeah.
So
that's
one of the things that I took from this and just need to be reminded of constantly.
Yeah. Great.
Hey, Ted.
Yeah.
When it comes to getting listings, I think the one item that agents miss are when you have buyers, when you were talking about inventory, when you're talking about the little store in Jamestown, when you have buyers and there's low inventory or what they need, you cannot find, then go get a listing for them. Like, I don't think people do that enough. I don't think if you know your buyer wants to live in Jamestown, you should be blowing up Jamestown. I have a buyer. Obviously you want to have a pre-approved buyer, a ready buyer, an able buyer, but start calling people to get the listings, right? Because then if I had, there's a gated community right off West 56th Street. When you're going west from my office or the Colts complex, on your on the southbound side is a gated community. And I can't think of the name of it right now. But my client was like, I think I want to, and he was a cash buyer. He could buy it to $1 million. And he said, I think I want to be in that neighborhood. My wife kind of likes that neighborhood. Maybe we'd get something on the water on Eagle Creek. So I sent snail mail to that entire neighborhood. I have a pre-qualified buyer, all the things, the magic letter, or whatever you want to call it. And I had six families, 6 homes reach out to me saying that they would sell. And so I went and I looked at all the homes, met with the people, all of that, met with the owner, showed my client. The owners left, let me show it. My client did not buy in there, but I did get a listing opportunity in there, just one out of the 6. But still, I had 6 responses. And that neighborhood's small. I don't know how many houses are in that neighborhood, maybe 30.
Andrew Luck's building a house, or was at one time.
Yeah. So so don't just sit and wait for a listing to match your buyer. Go get a listing, right? Why are we sitting waiting for somebody else to list something that our client wants? So
your story would have been better if you could have elaborated on how you broke into the gated community. And you picked the lock and you got the maneuver the gates to open.
Yeah. I got up on Jim's shoulders. It's all a thing. We're a team.
That's right. Well, to your point, as we wrap up, you cannot coast. Coasting is for running out of gas, Danny. Coasting is for running out of gas, right? Your car, you cannot, if you're out of gas right now, take some vitamins. I don't know, go to bed earlier, get a workout routine, read something that motivates you. But the fourth quarter is not for coasting. And every call, every appointment, every action that you're taking right now puts you ahead of the competition, which we know is taking the quarter off. So if you don't coast and you close strong and you set yourself up for this win of the last part of the year, and it's a win really before the year even begins next year. And so we have a lot of opportunity right now. So if you're looking for an action to take, it's get in the open house opportunities in Carpenter Connect and find one. It's get into your database, start making calls. Today, you should start every day, call 5 people that are in your database, and just check in and have the business call, ask for the referral. Those actions will pay off great dividends when you send them a holiday card, right? And you offer them home show tickets in January. So, all right, that's the fourth quarter. Next week, we're going to recap all the goodness that came out of the listing workshops and all the stuff that you might have missed because you weren't in every one of them, which Gina and I were. So we got all the goods. So that's it. Okay, that's the mastermind, October 1st, fourth quarter. Let's go. Thanks.